Tātad mēs turpināsim to tēmu, ko mēs iesākam, varbūt mazāk runājot tieši par iesaistītiem dienestiem. Un tomēr jau iepriekšējie runātāji izgaismoja vienu ļoti būtisku jautājumu par darbības nepārtrauktību. Kā nodrošināt darbības nepārtrauktību apstākļos, kad viss pēkšņi mainās? Kad vairs nav pieejami varbūt uz sitienu visi ierastie tie paši saziņas kanāli vai enerģijas avoti. Un Valsts ugunsdrošības un glābšanas dienas priekšnieks Pulkvedis Mārtiņš Baltmanis ir mūsu veterāns šajā drošības konferencē 4. gads, 4. reize. Un joprojām ir tāda sajūta, ka mēs visu nezinām, jo katru gadu kaut kas mainās. Mārtiņ, Pulkvedis kungs, laipni lūgti.
Okay, thank you very much for having me here. As it was mentioned, I'm very happy that I'm here, and maybe it's because people like to listen what I'm talking about, since I am invited every year. But yet today I will try to familiarize you with some practical examples from business continuity, looking from our service perspective. Unfortunately, I cannot include the content because it's classified, but the most important thing I think is templates and significant aspects which organization has to take into account when they plan their business continuity. But just to ensure that we are on the same page, actually, I will start with some terms. When we start to plan actually business continuity, we have to start with some hazards. We have to identify hazards. But the very beginning, it's just a hazard. It's floods or cyber attack. We don't know actually the frequency of this hazard. We don't know the severity of this hazard. So basically, the first thing what we have to do the risk assessment of these hazards, just to understand how often this hazard can be and what impact this hazard can do to our organization, to our services. And only then we can call actually the hazard as a risk, when we have done the risk assessment and we know the frequency, the likelihood, and we know the consequences, what the hazard can impact the organization. And basically, also, there is this likelihood and plausibility aspect we have to take into account, because not always we have a significant big amount of data actually. So in this case, we have to perform this risk assessment and evaluate actually this hazard by defining the plausibility, so taking into account the knowledge of the experts actually. So what they think about the frequency and what they think about the plausibility of the particular hazard. But then there is a time we can call a crisis. Of course, this is the only term I have included in my presentation. And I don't have a source for this term, but I think it's very important when we talk about the business continuity, and this is crisis. So on basically 3 main criteria for the crisis, what I think is the important is that simultaneously you have a lack of time, simultaneously you have a high uncertainty, so you don't know what is going on actually, and simultaneously your resource is insufficient. So, because imagine the situation, you have an incident and your resource is insufficient, but you have a time. So you have a time to obtain resource. So this is not a crisis actually. So this is an incident, but you have a time to obtain resource. This is just one example actually. But we have to keep it in mind when we talk about the business continuity, because in next illustrations you will see there is a certain time where we can have or we can face actually the crisis. And this is the most, I would say, important or dangerous phase within the organization. And actually, there is no need to invent a new bicycle for business continuity, since there is an international standard organization standard for business continuity management system. So you can get for your organization this standard and go through and actually invent this system within your organization. So, as I mentioned, the first thing is risk assessment. Of course, you as an organization can find different sources, what risks have already assessed, for example. This is an example from State Civil Protection Plan. So, but this is actually risk assessment done for disaster management. When we talk about business continuity, so the most important thing, we have to look to these risks, not from the disaster management perspective. But as I mentioned before, we have to look to these risks, how these risks can impact your organization. So what does it mean? And maybe if in this risk matrix, we can see there's a minor risk, and this is for the state, minor risk, but maybe for your organization, it's a significant risk, and vice versa. Maybe within the country, it's a high risk, but within your organization, it's minor risk or medium risk. So this aspect is very essential when we talk about business continuity. This is a difference between disaster management risk assessment and risk assessment when we talk about business continuity. So, 4 main steps when we talk about the business continuity, also from this standard. So the first, plan. So basically, you have to plan your business continuity. You have to do this risk assessment, as I mentioned, and prepare your plan. So prepare plan with actions, what you are going to do in case of what. So you have to define actually your objectives. What is your objectives? What is your vital services? What is your employees or vital employees? So how we can measure actually this. Second is do. So you go through all these processes. So you define the processes. So what we will do in case of particular risk. Then monitor. So we set up measurements actually for evaluation of our system. So we if it's possible, of course. So we set up, within the examples, I will try to show also some measurements we can define actually for particular risks. And maintain and improve, so act. So since you have created business continuity management system, so you have to test it. So test it as many times as needed, and after exercise or after training, you improve actually your business continuity management system. So what can we see in this illustration? So the red line, we can see, so yeah, our resources, our time horizontally. So if we have done the business continuity planning phase, so we can see that our disruption of the service, or if we create products, so is not so low when we can see this line where we don't have actually business continuity management system or business continuity plan. So what is important? And this illustration is for sudden disruption. When we talk about known hazard, for example, so the only change will be in this phase, in the first phase, that we can invent and we can set up actually controlled response measures. So, for example, if we have assessed pandemic as a risk actually for your business continuity, so we can set up the measures, what we can do, actually, how we can, do we have early warning system? So, and what is the criteria for early warning system? So, what we are going to do, so in order to maybe be faster than pandemics. So, and ensure our business continuity. So this is one aspect which is important. The second is, sorry. So we have a time actually where we can be disrupted. So, and this can be done only within your organization. So no one from outside, from our service or from another service, can tell you actually what is the time when you can be disrupted. Maybe there is no time for a disruption. So this is also objective, actually. This is objective for you, for your organization. So there is no time for me, for my organization to be disrupted. So basically, and this time, if we can see maybe, I don't have a pointer. From this side, if we don't have business continuity, so the crisis time is bigger. And if we have business continuity planning, so the crisis time will be shorter, and of course, our capacity will be higher. So, some practical examples from pandemics. So 7 basically significant aspects we have set up when we face the pandemics. So objective. So what is our objective? What we want to achieve through the business continuity planning? Tasks. So what we are going to do if the risk occurs, if we face the risk. What is our vital employees? So, because there could be maybe some employees which we can direct to another task, so which are not so they can do what in this certain period we need the most, actually. What is our vital services? So, risks. What is our early warning systems? And scenarios. So in this case, we actually set up 3 scenarios or 3 levels. So what is risk for us if the 30% of our employees is sick, actually with COVID? So what does it mean for us, and what actions? So what early systems we can use, actually, for example, what actions we can take if there is lack of 30%. And the same was with 45%. So what is the number? And the same with 60. So what we can see through the risk assessment, we understood, so it's very likely that we will face actually 30% employees sick with this pandemic. But again, we can moderate this impact. So we can moderate, we can do activities, we can perform certain measures in order to ensure our business continuity. When we talk about 45%, so it's medium. So the likelihood is medium, so of course, but the impact is severe. And of course, if there is 60% sick employees, so the impact is catastrophic for our service. So, and what is my advice, actually? Put all these 7 aspects in one template, just to ensure actually that everything is in one template. So you can see the risk levels. So, and also, what is our vital services, who provides it, where it's provided, what is the number of employees. So again, we put there the number of 35, 40, 60% of employees. And our early warning system is, since we have 25%, so 5% still till our criteria, for example. So this means that we have to start implement our actions in order to ensure business continuity. So what measures in priority order we have to perform if we face this scenario? What is the epidemiological safety measures? Again, in particular risk level, and what resources we have. And then, of course, notes we can add what is necessary. Of course, as I mentioned, I cannot include here the content since this document was classified. Another approach actually is that you can divide actually different situations in 4 levels. So this is something maybe from military a little bit. So we can see 4 different levels. So alpha level. So, and again, this actually task from state defense plan for all institutions that we have to develop something like this. And so again, we talk about criteria. When is alpha level for us? Which is okay, it's not high risk. And what measures should be taken, actually? The same Bravo Charlie and Delta is the worst case scenario actually, and also we have certain criteria when the Delta level is authorized. And in this approach, I would say the most and significant thing I would like to emphasize is notification system. How you are going to notify actually your employees, just to ensure that something is going on, and just to ensure that we have to take decisions. And I think the most important thing when we talk about business continuity, it's decentralized or autonomous performance of tasks. So, of course, we are in uniforms, we have ranks, we have certain actually hierarchy in our service. But in this case, when we want to ensure business continuity, our plans actually has to have actually actions for decentralized and an autonomous performance. So it means that you don't need a permission from a higher institution, department. You are authorized actually to perform tasks in order that your organization continue provide services. So this is the most, I think, important thing. And then it's exercise. It's exercise where, imagine the situation when you don't have a business continuity management system. You don't nothing. So you haven't done the risk assessment, you haven't prepared the plan. So actually, you don't have to test, but your preparedness in this case is 0%. So if we have done this process, if we have go through this process, and we think we have prepared actually this system, we think it's 50% good. So if we test it once, so we are 50% prepared. Since we have tested it, we have to improve the system. Because definitely after exercise or after training, we will identify lessons learned, what worked, what didn't work, what is the redundancy of our system. So this is something we have to improve, and then we test it. So after improvement, our system is maybe 60% better. Or not better, but 60% good, I would say. So we test it again. We test it again, and then again, and then again. So, and this is never-ending story, actually. You have to test the system all the time. So, and improve the system, because systems may change, so your employees change, the situation change, the threat change, the risks change. So you have to do it all the time. It's kind of culture within your organization if you really want to ensure business continuity. So, summary. So, first thing, business continuity starts with risk assessment. So we have to perform risk assessment, but it is not the most important, but you have to do it. You have to prepare business continuity plan. So as I mentioned, try to use one template, try to put all the information related to these aspects in one template. It will be easier for you actually to understand what you are going to do in case of crisis, in case of risk, but it will be easier also for your employees actually to understand. It will be one template. When all information is in one template, it's user-friendly. Actually, it's easier for your employees to understand what we are going to do and what does it mean within the organization. Then, of course, procedure for crisis management and communication. So you have to communicate with employees. What is the system? How it works? What is the procedures? What is your task? What is task of management? So this is very important if you want really that system works. IT and data backup strategies. So our systems could be broken. So there could be damage to electricity grid. So cyber attacks. So we have to have some redundant system which we can take out, use, in order to ensure our business continuity. So it goes together. And infrastructure as well, for example. What is our backup system? training, again, awareness raising for your employees, for everyone, and testing. As I mentioned, test the system and improve the system. So this is basically what I wanted to tell you today. Hopefully it was good for you. Thank you. Oh, and I saved 3 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, it's time for questions. Jautājums droši, var arī droši vien latviski uzdot. Jā, es zinu, ka šis nedroši, bet baigi gribējās.
Presentation. And I am very curious about your element of this autonomous decision, yes? How it is done? It is additional protocol whenever people can do this autonomous decision, or it is like, I don't know, instruction, conditions described when it can be done, how it is done, because it is really very interesting. I can say that in general we have in our organization what you said, except this element, so it is very interesting for me.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Okay. We have to separate, of course, this answer in 2 parts. The first part is autonomous related to the actually legislation, where we cannot especially impact this. Maybe with some amendments, we can change the legislation where we can include this autonomous decision-making procedure. So in case of certain risk or in case of certain level of severity, so we allow employees to implement certain things without authorization or without agreements and so on and so on. This is one part. But the second part actually within the organization, so we have our internal legislative acts, so our orders. So what does it mean? With this plan, we also issue the order. So in case if in daily work, for example, to perform certain task, we need approval of the chief of the service, then if I activate, for example, the level Charlie, you don't need anymore the authorization of chief of state fire rescue service. So it means by this plan, it's also order signed by the chief of the state fire rescue service. I authorize actually this other order. If we have an alpha level, for example, if we are daily work, so you have to do certain procedures, authorization and everything. But if I declare the Charlie level, for example, it's authorized you, and I have signed it, so it's authorized. You can do it without agreement. So this is, you can do it within your organization just to set up a clear procedure. That's why we need also this training and exercise, how we are going to perform this particular task.
So are you saying it depends on severity of the event, and the more and more people are authorized to do decisions on themselves?
Yes, yes.
All right.
More severe situation,
Yeah.
or maybe we don't have even communication.
Yeah.
So it means we don't have to wait actually till authorization. You have to perform.
All of them know which level is announced and what they can do in this level. So
That's why it was included in this slide.
Yeah.
This is the most. So this is the criteria. So it means this is the criteria.
But
if I have announced this level, so this is measures you can do or you can perform actually without any authorization.
And then you say content is classified. All right, it's for us classified. But for example, when something happens, are you declassify something for the people involved?
Actually, it's not so. It's not classified in such a high level when we talk. For example, it's not a state secret.
Okay.
So you can share this information via emails, but you have to add it's classified information.
Okay.
So it's not for everyone. So it means that we don't share it with all organizations. We don't share it publicly. So we keep it in our organization. It doesn't mean that. That's why I can't share it with all, but it's not so secret within the organization. So you can easily send it via email, but you just have to add this one sentence.
So we know where it will come from in case it leaks.
Sorry?
So we will know exactly who leaked it because we know which ones got the email.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Vēl kādi jautājumi? Droši?
Tur bija.
Paldies, aplausi. Jā, ir jautājums?
No.
Nē, mums ir laiks, droši.
No, actually, I wanted to mention the same what colleague as well said, how to define within the organization this like hierarchy, because we know organizations differ and some accept that, let's say, CEO can skip some actions, but some needs more strict rules. So in case we need some consultation from your side, how can we get in touch with you?
It's publicly available, my email and my phone number, so there is no problem. But it will always be actually, it depends on your organization. So what your CEO wants or allowed to do, or for example, this was aspect I think it's very, very important actually for organization if you really want to ensure business continuity. So because there could be situations where the management is not reachable. So, but you have to perform certain things in order to ensure your service or continuity of business.
You mentioned also redundant systems. Do we have those redundant systems? Because we have been living in a way that the more digitalized, the better. So what is the situation now?
I would start with answer, there won't be situation where we have a 100% redundant systems. This is not possible. This is not possible, actually. But we have to think, even hard copies, actually. If we work with our resources in information system, still we have a hard copy how we are going to manage our resources. It's in a folder, waiting for the situation when we will need it. So this is a very simple example. But as I said, you will never establish the infrastructure or system which is 100% redundant. It's not possible because there could be so many hazards, risks which can impact it. But you have to do everything that you can do to be more redundant.
All right. Thank you. Paldies, Pulkvedis.